You've been told your whole life that women want love, stability, emotional connection, that if you just give them enough attention, affection, and consistency, they'll finally be content. But Schopenhauer saw through that lie over 200 years ago. He wrote, "The greatest of all delusions is the belief that the object of our desires will bring us lasting satisfaction." And that truth hits women harder than anyone else, because everything in a woman's psychology, biology, and social conditioning is built around chasing satisfaction that disappears the moment she touches it. You want to understand why women are never satisfied? Start here. Desire is endless. Schopenhauer called it the will, that blind, insatiable force inside every human being that keeps reaching for what it doesn't have. But while men tend to direct that energy outward through creation, ambition, conquest, women direct it inward, toward relationships, emotions, validation. Men pursue goals, women pursue feelings, and feelings fade. That's why no matter how much you give, she'll always ask for something more. More romance, more communication, more reassurance, more effort. You're not dealing with greed. You're dealing with metaphysics. You can't satisfy the will. You can only distract it. Watch what happens when you date a woman who claims she just wants a good man. At first, she's in heaven. You text her every morning, take her out, make her laugh. She's glowing. Then something shifts. The excitement fades, and suddenly your consistency becomes routine. Your stability becomes predictability. She starts to feel restless, though she can't explain why. She'll say, "I just don't feel the spark anymore," as if sparks were designed to last forever. But what's really happening is Schopenhauer's law of diminishing desire. Once the will gets what it wants, it immediately moves on to wanting something else. The same mechanism that drives human progress also destroys relationships. You think she's ungrateful. You think maybe she's immature. No, she's human. But she's human trapped in the feminine form of the will. She doesn't chase purpose the way you do. She chases the emotional state that purpose gives her. That's why love stories captivate her, not because of the man, but because of the feeling he represents. And once she secures him, the feeling fades, and she must either create new drama to feel alive again, or move on to another man to reignite the illusion. You'll notice how many women sabotage peace. They say they want calm, but they're addicted to chaos. They say they want security, but they flirt with danger. They claim they want good men, but can't stay interested once they get one. That contradiction isn't hypocrisy, it's hunger. Schopenhauer said that life is suffering because all desire springs from lack. And once the lack is filled, the mind invents new ones to stay alive. For women, the lack is emotional validation. That's why attention feels like oxygen to them. Take it away, and they panic. Give too much of it, and they suffocate. The tragedy is, they don't understand this cycle. They just feel its consequences. They keep asking, why can't I be happy even when everything is good? Because happiness, for them, is like water in their hands. The tighter they hold it, the faster it slips through. And here's the part no man wants to admit. The modern world has made this 10 times worse. A woman today receives more attention in a week than her great-grandmother did in a lifetime. Social media turned the female ego into a bottomless pit of validation, likes, compliments, comments, dopamine loops designed to make satisfaction impossible. Every heart emoji is a sugar rush to her self-worth. Every pause between messages is withdrawal. And when the dopamine crashes, the unhappiness returns stronger than before. Schopenhauer would have called it the wheel of torment, the endless chase for stimulation that only deepens the void. So the next time you find yourself wondering why she's distant, why she complains despite having everything she once wanted, remember this: she's not reacting to you. She's reacting to the nature of desire itself. You're not failing her. You're standing in front of an appetite that cannot end. And the more you try to fill it, the more it will consume you. That's the first step toward freedom. Realizing you're not responsible for curing what nature designed to remain unsatisfied. Schopenhauer once said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. If he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom." And that line reveals something profound about why women struggle with lasting happiness, because solitude terrifies them. For most women, solitude feels like irrelevance. Their sense of self was built in the reflection of others, a father's approval, a man's desire, society's attention. From childhood, they've been conditioned to believe their value exists only when seen. So when no one's watching, they cease to exist emotionally. That's the seed of endless dissatisfaction. A man can sit alone, build, create, suffer in silence, and come out stronger. A woman sitting alone begins to panic, not because she's weak, but because she's never been taught to define herself outside of connection. That's why she fills her life with noise, gossip, texts, endless scrolling, emotional drama. It's not attention she's addicted to, it's distraction. Distraction from the inner void that Schopenhauer said no one can ever truly fill. The emptiness that comes after every desire has been met. You've probably seen it before. A woman gets everything she said she wanted, a loving husband, a stable life, financial security, and suddenly she's restless. She wants to find herself. She says she feels unfulfilled. Translation? The external rewards no longer distract her from the internal silence. That silence is unbearable because it reveals the truth she's been running from her entire life. That happiness isn't something that comes from the world, it comes from mastering the will. And very few women have ever been taught how to master it. Schopenhauer saw this long before modern psychology did. He believed women were the embodiment of the species' will, meaning they are nature's instrument to keep life reproducing, to keep desire cycling. That's why they crave novelty, attention, movement, change, anything that keeps the wheel spinning. It's not evil, it's biological. But the modern woman has confused this biological restlessness for emotional unfulfillment. She's not missing love, she's missing struggle. Once the struggle ends, she feels purposeless, so she invents new problems to restore the tension. You'll notice how many women create conflict in perfectly peaceful relationships. She'll pick fights over nothing, criticize you for how you breathe, question your tone, your silence, your presence. She doesn't need the fight to end the relationship. She needs it to feel alive again, because the chaos rekindles the same emotional intensity she mistakes for passion. It's not that she wants pain, she wants stimulation. And since she can't generate meaning from stillness, she manufactures it from friction. That's why men burn out trying to make her happy. You think if you fix the problems, she'll calm down, but calmness is her enemy. Peace to her feels like boredom. Boredom feels like dying. So the moment you solve one issue, another appears. It's not sabotage, it's survival through emotional movement. And you, trying to help, become her latest project, her latest source of stimulation. She doesn't want your solutions. She wants your energy, your reaction, your proof that she still matters enough to affect you. Schopenhauer would say this is not malice but nature's cruel genius to ensure the will never rests. Women, being closer to that primal will, are its most loyal servants. Men escape it through art, philosophy, achievement. Women, on average, express it through emotion, relationship, and attention. Both suffer, but men can sublimate their suffering into purpose. Women, taught to find purpose in love, are trapped when love inevitably disappoints. And here's where it gets even darker. The more society gives women independence, freedom, equality, the more miserable many become. Because for the first time in history, they can chase every desire without restraint. And they're discovering that desire itself is the prison. They get the job, the travel, the luxury, the validation, and feel emptier than ever. Because Schopenhauer was right. Fulfillment doesn't come from getting what you want, it comes from wanting less. But modern culture teaches the opposite. It tells women they can have it all, which is the cruelest lie ever sold, because all is infinite, and infinite desire guarantees infinite disappointment. You can see it in their eyes, even behind the filters and the smiles. They're not celebrating freedom. They're drowning in choice, comparing every moment of their lives to someone else's highlight reel, chasing an impossible ideal of satisfaction that even paradise couldn't deliver. And men? You stand there trying to be the exception, the one man who will finally make her happy. But you won't, because you can't fix a program that was never written for peace. The best you can do is understand it, stop personalizing it, and protect your soul from being drained by it. Because the man who tries to fill a bottomless cup doesn't just waste his effort, he loses himself in the process. Schopenhauer wrote that love is the will to live in disguise. It sounds poetic until you understand what he meant, that love isn't a romantic miracle, it's nature's trick to keep the species reproducing. The moment you grasp that, everything about modern female dissatisfaction makes sense, because women are the vessels of that will, the carriers of life's instinct to perpetuate itself through attraction, emotion, and illusion. And when the illusion fades, when the biological purpose is fulfilled or fails, she's left staring at the emptiness beneath it. That emptiness isn't a flaw in her, it's the true face of desire revealed. Every woman begins her romantic life believing in the myth of completion, that somewhere out there is a man who will make her feel whole, safe, alive. That story isn't written by Disney, it's written by nature itself. She is the embodiment of the incomplete, designed to seek union, to merge with something stronger, something beyond herself. But once that union happens, reality replaces fantasy. The flaws of the man she once idealized start surfacing. The daily monotony of real life replaces the cinematic high of early romance, and the fantasy collapses. What she feels isn't disappointment with the man, it's the death of illusion. But she blames him, because she can't face the truth that the problem isn't him. It's that the dream always fades. That's why the most dangerous phase in any relationship isn't the beginning. It's after she gets you. Because the moment you stop being a symbol and start being a person, the enchantment breaks. Schopenhauer warned that once desire is satisfied, it is soon followed by satiety and indifference. You become a mirror, reflecting her disillusionment back to her. She'll tell herself, he changed. No, she woke up. And reality is never as stimulating as the dream. This is why women today chase endless self-improvement, new experiences, new chapters. They're not evolving, they're escaping repetition. Because repetition feels like stagnation, and stagnation feels like death. Every new love, every trip, every hobby is an attempt to outrun the existential boredom that Schopenhauer said lies at the core of all human life. But men, on average, deal with that boredom by building, by conquering, by creating meaning from it. Women, on the other hand, have been taught to outsource meaning, to find it in relationships, in attention, in being desired. And when that desire fades, their identity collapses with it. You can see this pattern everywhere. The woman who can't stay in a relationship longer than a year, the influencer who constantly reinvents herself, the divorcee who says, I just wasn't happy anymore, as if happiness is something you can permanently possess. Each one is playing out the same Schopenhauerian script, chasing fleeting highs to avoid confronting the void. He called this the pendulum of life, swinging between pain and boredom, always in motion, never at peace. And here's the irony. The more a woman tries to cure her unhappiness through external means, new partners, new careers, new philosophies, the deeper it grows. Because she's not treating the cause, she's feeding it. Desire doesn't die when satisfied. It mutates. A new outfit becomes a new house. A new lover becomes a new lifestyle. A new ideology becomes a new addiction. And each one promises fulfillment, just long enough to keep her trapped. You've seen this cycle. A woman says she's unhappy in her marriage. She leaves, saying she's finally choosing herself. A year later, she's in the same situation. Different man, same emptiness. Why? Because she never addressed the real source, the restless will inside her. Schopenhauer would say she's mistaking the symptoms for the disease. The disease is wanting itself, the insatiable hunger of being. And until she learns to confront it, every chapter of her life will end with the same sentence, I'm not happy anymore. So what does the man do? He tries harder, thinking love will fix it. He buys the gifts, plans the trips, listens, apologizes, improves. All noble acts, but all futile when directed at the wrong problem. You can't compete with an inner void. You can't satisfy someone whose entire identity depends on dissatisfaction. And the harder you try, the more she loses respect for you, because effort without results reads as weakness. Schopenhauer said it bluntly: to desire happiness is to prepare oneself for pain. That's the paradox men must grasp. The moment you make her happiness your mission, you guarantee your own suffering, because you've entered a contract with an emotion that cannot be held. Her joy, her validation, her peace. They're all momentary weather patterns in a climate of unrest. You're trying to build a house in a storm. The only winning move is not to fight the weather, but to step out of it entirely. Schopenhauer never believed happiness was possible in any lasting sense, not for men, not for women. But he did believe peace was possible, and peace, he said, comes only when you stop demanding from life what it cannot give. You see, the mistake both men and women make is thinking happiness is a possession, that you can hold it, keep it, protect it. But happiness isn't a state, it's a moment, a flicker between desire and boredom. And women suffer more from this delusion because the modern world tells them happiness is their birthright. You deserve to be happy, they're told, as if happiness were a handbag or a house. But Schopenhauer knew, the more you chase it, the faster it runs. That's the dark truth modern women can't face. They've been given everything that was supposed to make them content: independence, wealth, choice, freedom. And yet the data shows record levels of anxiety, depression, and loneliness. Why? Because all these external gains did nothing to silence the inner will. The same restless force still whispers, more, better, different. And the moment a woman achieves one milestone, her mind invents another. She can't celebrate what she has because celebration feels like stagnation, and stagnation feels like death. So she lives in permanent pursuit, smiling for the camera, dying inside. Schopenhauer would look at this and say, of course she's unhappy. She's confusing freedom with fulfillment. Freedom from limits doesn't create peace, it multiplies options, and options multiply dissatisfaction, because with every new choice comes new regret, new comparison, new restlessness. He called it the curse of the will, that the moment you're free to chase everything, you realize there's nothing that satisfies you for long. That's why women today, surrounded by abundance, feel emptier than ever. It's not oppression keeping them miserable, it's liberation without meaning. Men fall into the same trap when they try to rescue women from it. You think your role is to soothe her storms, to prove your loyalty, to be the man who finally makes her happy. But Schopenhauer would laugh at that. He'd tell you that you're trying to conquer nature itself. You're trying to silence a biological symphony that's been playing since the dawn of time. You don't make a woman happy by giving her what she wants. You only teach her to want more. And the moment she realizes you're addicted to her approval, she loses interest. Because nothing kills attraction faster than a man who worships instability. The only solution, and this is where Schopenhauer becomes prophetic, is detachment. Not coldness, not cruelty. Detachment. The ability to see the storm without being pulled into it. To love without losing yourself. To give without begging for gratitude. To walk away without resentment. A man who understands this stops playing the fool's game of trying to fix what the universe designed to remain incomplete. He doesn't resent women for their restlessness. He recognizes it as a reflection of life itself. Endless motion, endless hunger. And instead of drowning in it, he builds something solid in himself. That's why Schopenhauer admired monks, artists, and philosophers, men who transcended the will through mastery and solitude. The happiest man, he said, is the one who needs the least. When you reach that level, you stop trying to be the source of anyone else's satisfaction. You become the stillness in a world addicted to noise, and paradoxically, that's when women start chasing you. Because nothing is more magnetic to a woman than a man she can't move, the man who doesn't flinch when she tests him. the man who doesn't crumble when she withholds affection, the man who doesn't beg to be understood because he already understands himself. That's your liberation, not from women, but from illusion. The illusion that you can make someone else happy before mastering your own peace. The illusion that love will save you from emptiness. The illusion that fulfillment lies in approval. Once you break that spell, everything changes. You stop chasing ghosts. You stop explaining yourself. You stop fighting battles that can't be won. And you start living like a man who has nothing to prove and everything to build. Schopenhauer called this resignation, not in the sense of giving up, but in transcending the childish demand that life make you feel good. You stop asking for fairness, recognition, perfect partners, or happy endings. You accept the world as it is, flawed, restless, impermanent, and you choose peace anyway. That's where real strength lives. So the next time you hear a woman say, "I just want to be happy," remember this: what she wants doesn't exist, not in the way she imagines it. You can love her, but you can't cure her. You can walk beside her, but you can't carry her. And if she tries to drag you into her endless pursuit, let her go. Because the man who chases female happiness will die exhausted, but the man who understands female nature will live in peace. That's the essence of Schopenhauer's dark truth, that satisfaction is an illusion, desire is a trap, and freedom begins the moment you stop expecting life or love to make you feel whole. Master yourself, and the chaos of others can no longer control you. If this opened your eyes, do what most won't, like, share, and subscribe. Support the channel through the link in the description, because the world doesn't need more men chasing happiness. It needs men who understand truth and stand unshaken in it.